Okay, long time no see. Oh, but thought it was time, and I think about. I mean, in some sense, it's a trivial topic, but I mean, be careful what you call trivial, because I mean, a bold decision, can change your life. An idea can change your life. So it might be a simple thing to, for example, read more books or socialize more or whatever it is, but small tips can be really crucial. And it's also the parameters of how much you're doing, and so very easy to fool yourself to think you've optimized things. And what I'm going to talk about now is exercise. And I say this as someone who had sort of, in my young years, I had sort of an aspiration of being an elite athlete and train for it. Although I never had the passion enough to fulfill it. So that was my biggest Achilles heel, I guess. But the thing is, for many years I kept up with the training, of course, but and I think I've fallen into a trap. And the trap is that I thought that something that is true to an extent, that you can compensate volume, time with intensity and get the similar results, like for example in the gym or doing high intensity workouts. And I've had that view for a long time. I've experimented and done, gosh, it's very slippery stones here. So where were I? What's my train of thought here? I guess that's a misconception in some sense, and I'd actually tried something new now, and tried to, because the thing is, exercise is, and by the way, I'll also mention the reason why I probably got to the wrong conclusion, because I thought that, I mean, you have to be aware of your biases and your what's your hammer for the man with a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. Basically, if you have one competence or something that you're very good at, or just have done a lot, you continue to do that to tackle your life in the way you want to improve. So I thought that, well, I probably overvalue the weight of exercise, the importance of exercise. I mean, it's good to a degree, but I mean, if you already have 5 hours every week exercise, that's probably enough. I mean, so I thought that for a long time, and since I wanted the most benefits of like high intensity training, I did, it depends on what year, but I did some sometimes really sort of brutal running stuff, and which gives you a really high kick in sort of, I think it's called brain entropic factor, BNDF or something like that. And what I stumbled upon very recently was that, and this is something I've been doing for 1.5 weeks, almost 2 weeks, and was that basically, as long as you're not going really high intensity, you can get a huge amount of benefits of stepping up your total amount of both in the gym and running. So, and the results seem to be quite drastic if you actually do it right. And so the thing is, I'm basically more than doubling my hours in exercise, and it's an experiment, but and I'm not sort of I am familiar with this in some sense, and I also do know how my enthusiasm was in my younger years. You know, well, I had my problems. I mean, especially if you're very ambitious in school and exercise, you have to sort of deal with your own psyche and not get discouraged. But I had a drive and an extreme determination that I, to some extent, would say I lack today. And it's also about, I mean, age. You have more sort of hormones going when you're young. So, but I think a big part of it was that I was almost 2 hours every day exercising, but it was much harder than this, what I'm planning to do now. So the key here is to, if you're only doing low intensity, except for in the gym, you of course have to push yourself, but the running in what's called zone 2, like quite low, like just jogging, and doing that for quite a long time or many hours every week, seem to have extremely big effect on this brain-atrophy factor, basically associated with new pathways in the brain, creativity, tackling things in new ways, alertness, and even countering depression. And so, but the thing I also wanted, and that was that was even the reason why I started to delve into this, was that I basically wanted to get better results in the gym, because I think I don't have to be super muscular, but at the same time it's a nice thing to do, but mainly going to the gym and not feeling that you're feeling improved, just going there to feel good was for me like, yeah, of course that's part of what I'm doing, but to not feel that you're developing your capacities, it feels quite dumb to do something without having that mindset of trying to improving something. And so I wanted more results, and then I delved deeper into this and basically saw that if you can combine it, you can combine like much more time in the gym, although not too high intensity arguably, which I've heard, and also quite a lot of jogging, just like zone 2 exercise, arguably afterwards, seem to be the best way to do it. Most best is probably dividing it up into two times every day, but that's not really practical for most people, and it's still a lot. I mean, I do basically 5 hours a week exercise, and I quite intense in the gym, and also some running sometimes, and so I actually stepping it up to 12 hours, which is insane for some people to hear, like 12 hours every day, or not every day, every week. That's quite a lot for someone who's not, like, of course people are doing more than that sometimes, so elite athletes, but and the main reason is I just want to see if I can get my brain to a sort of similar state as when I was young, because there is a lot of evidence, unless not Grok is tricking me here, but so doing 7 hours strength training in the gym and 5 hours in total in a week of zone 2 just jogging. And the key thing here is that you can't really do too much of high intensity unless you're just calibrating your recovery perfectly and you're an athlete, you just not have to sort of perform at all days and stuff. Then you perhaps can do that, but the thing is, you don't need to do sort of the high intensity running that often, because it's sort of a risk, because it's easy to get overtrained if you're training too much. So for most of us who don't have so perfect calibrated day in sort of terms of recovery, we try to do our best, but I mean, it's a danger to go too far in that direction, and it's even like it's sort of associated with inflammation and stuff. So this zone 2 is like perfect, even sort of recovering in itself to do that type of exercise. And so the thing is, the sort of this brain atrophy factor is one thing that you get a ton of if you're doing low intensity cardio. That's one thing, and it's basically, I mean, it showed that you're basically, if you're doing much in the gym and then also in running, if you compare that to only doing running, all like 12 hours, even 15 hours, I mean, the difference is not insane, because you're still have sort of a pulse when you're doing in the gym, and additionally you're actually getting more of another thing that you don't get if you're doing 12 or 15 hours jogging, and that is is it called just growth hormone, or I mean IGF or something like that, but it's something that you'll only get when you're in the gym, which has also sort of similar positive effects on the brain, and the sort of determination. It's more associated to sort of what I would call sort of more rough sides of being just determined and hard to describe, but I can really recognize that from my younger years. But I've never been in this volume in the gym, so this will be very interesting to see where I can go with this. But so you get both of those factors, both the brain factor. You lower it a bit compared to running like insanely much, but not too much. But you also get this other factor, so you get both of them. And so one might say, how the heck are you going to? How can I do 2 hours every day exercise? You have obviously you need 1 day for recovery. That way it's up to 12 hours, 2 times 6. The key thing here to understand is that it's probably hard for many people, but I mean, doing early in the morning and perhaps getting to bed 1 hour earlier could be one way to do it, but not everyone can do it. But stepping it up seems to be really important, and so now I'm in circumstances that I can handle that, I can do that. And the thing is that, because one thing is social responsibility, like being on work or other things like that, but the key thing to understand is that, especially if you have a you're quite good at you have the liberties, so to speak, to navigate your own time during the day, especially if you're in a business and such, to understand that, I mean, if you decrease 1 hour or 1.5 hour every day in input in business, I mean, that's quite, it might seem much, but if you think about that, again, an idea can change your life. So what you do on those hours that you actually work is much more important. And so what's the difference there? Because you say, okay, isn't that not the same with exercise? It seems like exercise you can get away with less hours, because it's in itself, for long continuation being active, it's like 1 hour of exercise can compensate for 8 hours of sitting, something I learned long ago. So it's obviously also important to be active during the day, but you can't really get around the amount of just the exercise in itself. But you can get around, I mean, if you can do something more smart in let's say in business or whatever it is, by taking better decisions, which is basically, I mean, that's what it is. There's no way around hard work, and I'm probably one who need to get back more to hard work. I was more into that earlier, if I'm being honest with myself. But it's still true that what you do on the hours and how well your brain is functioning, and executive capacities and creativity, I mean, you can make decisions in 2 hours that I mean, in some sense, you take an idea that never would come to your life. I'm sort of over-exaggerating here, but in that sense of it, it could be like 2 hours is worth more than your whole life. I mean, it's an extreme, but I just saying that it's the ideas and how you tackle them and the creativity and what you do on the hours you work that determines. And if you can do something like, for example, exercise that increase your brain, I mean, your brain is, it's amazing what it can do for you. So no, it's hard to know how much effect you can get from this, and it seems like too good to be true for me when I heard about it, but since I can have the time to test it, I thought I would actually do that. So, and I'm quite excited, but I think I went too hard into it, because I have a habit of quite intense training, and so, like, for example, going to the gym and not work out every set to failure for me feels quite, it feels wrong. I really like it, and it's fun, and if I sort of get a sense of guilt if I don't work out to failure all the time. But if I'm don't increasing the volume, I'm not sure I can do that, especially if I'm also doing zone 2 jogging. So it's interesting. But so basically what I do is 70 minutes in the gym and then 50 minutes jogging. That's the plan. See if I'll do that all 6 weeks. That's whatever it out to 7 hours strength training and 5 hours cardio, low, zone 2. Zone 2 being like really low, just slow jogging. And I don't have a problem with that type of discipline. When I heard that was really good thing to do for your sort of executive capacity and creativity and smartness, basically alertness and especially mood. I mean, that's I thought of forgot to say that the increase in mood, that's actually one of the most important reasons that I do it, because it's seems to be extremely good for your mood to do it all as well. So not just performance in understanding, but also your mood. And that's and so it's quite, I mean, it's going back to this sort of what do you optimize for in life. Like for example, I thought I had done enough of this sort of training and started to understand exercise, and I should probably not focus too much and just keep going what I'm doing. It's for, I mean, I've already got 90% of what I can get out from it. I thought, but it seems like I might have been wrong about that and about that. So and one interesting thing to think about is that, yeah, you might have other things in life, like all the things that you can come up with that you don't in, for sort of in the business context or social context, whatever it is, like ideas that you need to hatch and just get into. The thing is, if you can utilize something that already is your strength to tackle a weakness, it can actually be a good thing. So like for example, if you have problems with business execution or insight into a problem, if you're a researcher or social stuff, if you can use your strength, like for me, for example, exercise has always been something that I don't have any problem at all doing 2 hours every day of exercise. As a factor of discipline, I might have other problems and discipline in other areas, but for me it's just only a fun experiment, and I'm enthusiastic with it. If I can utilize my strengths and see if the research really is this clear on this, if I can use my strength of only doing workout and exercise to tackle other stuff in my life, that's just amazing. So it's always a tough balance to understand always models in life, like man with the hammer syndrome, as I mentioned, and you always keep getting into new insights in life. So that's what makes it interesting and enthusiastic to be alive. So yeah, but again, I think I went too hard on it because I continue my habit of trying to work out quite intensely, and think I have to sort of, because the thing is, it takes quite a while for it to kick in, and it's also takes a while for the body to get accustomed into it, and probably went a bit too aggressive in that. So I'm dealing with the consequences now, feeling a bit too tired, and but soon getting back on track. So it's really exciting to see what happens the next couple of weeks and months, if I stick with it, which I very much have as an ambition to do. But we'll see. It's a bit too good to be true, but yeah, we'll see.